In today's video, I wanted to show you how I did this Halloween design based on the movie It. But before we start, I'm gonna start creating these acrylic nails, and like you guys can tell, I'm gonna be using this white acrylic because it's going to serve me as a base for me to later on create the designs. And also these nails are gonna be pretty long. They're gonna be over XL size. And slowly I'm gonna start creating it. I'm gonna add some of these beads until the entire nail is well covered. And just like always, I'm gonna apply some pressure on the sides. You guys know that I always like to do this step because I feel like it makes the nails look more natural. On this second nail, I'm gonna start by applying the form and closing it off a lot more than usual because I'm doing coffin shaped nails. And also, I'm gonna put the first bead between the natural nail and the form so it can be stronger. And also, I'm gonna keep adding some more beads, and little by little, I'm gonna use my brush and I'm gonna do little taps on it until I finish this second nail. Guys, apply the form, make sure that it's completely symmetrical because otherwise what can happen is that the nail can end up being crooked. And also something that I do to create these nails is that I use the lines on the form as a guide so it can be easy for me to create sharp sides. And now that I have this first step done, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to apply the last bead, and here I'm going to make sure that everything is well covered. But remember not to touch the cuticle or the skin because that can eventually cause lifting and can make your nail fall off a lot sooner than it's supposed to. And onto the last nail for this tutorial. First, I'm going to apply the form and I'm going to close it off. And I'm going to apply the bead between the natural nail and the form. Slowly, I'm going to use my brush and I'm going to do little taps on it until I drag it downwards and I start creating this shape. A little tip that I have for you guys is to keep cleaning your brush as often as possible. I use some monomer because otherwise what can happen is that my brush can end up being dirty. And then I'm going to apply the last bead and I'm going to make sure that everything is well covered, but remember not to touch the cuticle or the skin. And to finish up, of course, I'm going to apply some pressure on the sides. And this is how these acrylic nails look like. Like you guys can tell, they don't look perfect, but that's why I always say that filing is so important. When I file nails, I like to start by filing the sides. So I'm going to put the file following the natural shape that the coffin has. And this is how the nails look like after filing the sides. Like you guys can tell, they look a lot more sharp now. And the last thing that I'm going to do is file the surface. And you guys know that I like using my e-file for that. But if you guys want to, you can use a regular one. And here what I'm going to do is that I'm going to file down these nails until they're pretty thin. And also if there's any bumps, I'm going to make sure that they're filed. Now that everything is done, we can do the design. Before we start, I recommend you to clean off the nails because after filing, there's always going to be some dust left behind and that can make our nails look dirty. So like I told you, this design is going to be based on it. So the first thing I'm going to do is create this type of blood design on the first nail, and it's actually pretty simple. I'm going to be using this red gel paint as well as this very thin nail art brush because it's going to make the whole process way easier for me. All you have to do is kind of create these curvy lines that get together and create the outline of the design so you can later go on and start filling it up. Since this is gel paint, I'm going to be curing everything for about 60 seconds. And this is how this first nail looks like. Now moving on to the second one, the first thing I'm going to do is add a little bit of this gel polish to kind of create this base. Like you guys can tell, it kind of has this yellowish undertone, so I feel like it's going to make the entire face look more realistic. And also I'm gonna start by creating the eyebrows, and I'm gonna be using this gray gel paint. Like you guys can tell, they're pretty thin and they're also kind of sharp. And now that I have that done, I'm gonna make the eyes. I'm gonna be using this thin nail art brush and this black gel paint. When I create this type of eyes, I'm gonna make them very straight and small because I want them to look as close to the real one as possible. I'm only going to be doing the outline of it because later on I'm gonna add some more stuff. So I'm gonna add a little bit of this white gel paint as well as some of these yellow ones so I can start creating these eyes. Now I'm gonna be using this dotting tool and I'm gonna create 2 black dots. And then later on, I'm gonna use white gel paint and just create 2 more so it can look a little bit more realistic. Now I'm gonna mix a little bit of this gray gel paint with the black so I can start creating these shadows underneath the eyes. And it's pretty simple. I'm basically gonna put most of the product up near the eye. And then I'm gonna use my brush and I'm gonna keep dragging it downwards until everything kind of starts fading. I'm going to be doing this all over the eye, and I'm going to do the exact same thing on the left one. And this is how it looks like. Now I'm going to start making the nose, and it's actually pretty simple. All I'm going to do is kind of create these curvy lines, and then I'm going to start filling it up with the same red gel paint. And I don't know if you guys can tell, but I'm trying to fade it way up near the nose so it can look a little bit more realistic. Remember that it's important to keep curing each color for about 60 seconds. Now I'm gonna move on to create the smile, which I feel like it's the most important part. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm gonna make the outline. And like you guys can tell, the lips are pretty small, but the smile line is the longest one. It goes up near the cuticle. And now I'm gonna make another curvy line to finish up creating this smile. And later on, I'm gonna start filling this up little by little using the same red gel paint. Here, I'm gonna leave a little space without covering because it's where I'm going to be making the teeth. And I'm also going to be adding a little bit of this black gel paint. Here, I'm gonna be using white gel paint to create the teeth. And basically, I'm gonna try to make them both as similar as possible. This is how the face ended up looking. Now moving on to the third nail. Here is going to be more simple. Basically what I'm going to do is that I'm gonna make a balloon and I'm gonna create the outline of it, and later on I'm gonna start filling it in with the same red gel paint. And I'm gonna keep filling it in until everything is well covered. And to make it look more realistic, what I'm going to do is I'm gonna add shadows, and I'm gonna be using this darker red gel paint, and I'm just gonna be adding it near the outline. I'm also going to be adding a lighter red on top. And to finish it up, I'm gonna add some more details with this black gel paint. And this is how the third nail ended up looking. Now moving on to the last one for this tutorial. Here is going to be pretty simple. Basically the first thing that I'm going to do is that I'm gonna cover this nail with this black gel paint. Now that I have this done, what I'm going to do is that I'm gonna write down the word it. And I'm gonna be using this red gel paint, and I'm not gonna try to make it look too perfect, just kind of like the movie. It's very simple, and also these letters are kind of abstract, so you can kind of make whatever you want. I'm gonna go over these letters until they're well covered. Now that I'm done creating this, I'm gonna cure the nails for about 60 seconds. And this is how they look like after doing the designs, but we're not completely done yet because what we have to do is add a little bit of top coat. You guys know that what this is going to do is add a really pretty shine, but it's also going to protect the designs that we created. It's gonna make them last longer. And I'm gonna put it on top of all of the nails, and later on I'm gonna cure it for about 60 seconds. This is how the final design looks like. I hope that you guys like this tutorial. I know that it can seem a little bit complicated, but all you have to do is follow step by step. If you guys liked it, make sure that you subscribe and like this video. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!